What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Coach Joe Strong, here with another powerful episode of the Business of Strength podcast, where you can hear the interviews, tips, and tools to turn your business into a profit center that you will absolutely love. I am excited to give you an announcement. This is a big one. Our annual retreat is coming up very quickly. I'm here with a really awesome guest, a special guest, and a huge sponsor of our retreat and the Underground Strength Con. Andrew Jackson from Turnkey Coach. Turnkey Coach is an awesome company. They were sponsors at the Underground last year, and I reached out to them this year, and they were super excited to jump on with us for both of our marquee events this year. Andrew, thanks for coming on with me. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks again for you guys really, putting your money where your mouth is in a sense, and jumping in and wanting to be part of our event. So we really appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be at both events this year. I missed the event last year. Matt and Mac was there in my
Yep.
place, but I'm going to be there in September, or I guess it's already September,
Yeah.
in two
Yeah. We're
weeks.
about 2 weeks away. Yep.
Yeah, and then in November back east. So yeah, we really like the culture that Varsity House and we got connected with Underground Strength Con as well. Just the people and that our mission is really to connect coaches with people around the world to help improve the quality of people's lives through strength. And we felt that same kind of energy from your crew as well. And
Yep.
so I think it's just been a great fit and excited to spend more time with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it kind of comes full circle. I mean, obviously, I know Matt's story and, being a coach and coaching, owning gyms and stuff like that. I think, when you find success a little bit or a little bit of it, and you have something that you've created and that can help people, I think you almost have like an obligation. And I say it all the time, like, cliche, a rising tide raises all ships. And it's the truth. Like I've gotten so much out of fitness and the training industry. It's been my life for so many years that now with the business of strength, it's like I have this awesome opportunity to help other young coaches and entrepreneurs and business owners really improve their businesses and their systems and not fall on their faces. And so many people do. And I think that's where, we connected a lot was like, hey, Turnkey Coach is giving coaches another avenue and an opportunity to increase their earning potential and really and professionalize their business too and get
Hmm.
on a really professional digital platform that makes the communication with their clients look good and actually be simple, easy to use, and kind of a great user interface, if you will,
Hmm.
that for both the client and the coach. So I love that aspect of it. So talk to me about your journey a little bit, Andrew, and kind of like how this whole thing got started. I know you've been, around the Turnkey Coach for a long time, but
Hmm.
give me the nuts and bolts origin story of, Turnkey Coach and how you kind of came into this process as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting as I have tried to tell this story more recently that I didn't even realize how much of my life sort of culminated with building Turnkey Coach. I grew up in gyms. I don't know why I just took this for granted to be part of my life, but my mom worked in gyms. She started as a fitness instructor, became a manager for an athletic club, back in the 80s, racquetball club style gym, and has owned a gym for the last 25 years with her husband, my stepdad. So just have been around gyms my whole life. Grew up playing sports, all the time as a kid, all the way up through high school, and then rode in college. Got out, joined the Navy after completing an undergraduate in computer engineering, computer science. Never used it professionally, but went into, after sitting behind a computer in my hometown at Oregon State University. I grew up there in Corvallis. I was like,
Hmm.
I got to get out of town and I got to get out from behind a computer screen. So I joined the Navy because you're going to go see the world. And
Yep.
I've always been a bit of a nerd and an engineer kind of brain. So I joined their nuclear engineering program, did that for
Oh,
six
wow.
years, two deployments, and then got out and I was like, well, I think I need to learn how to run, how business works. And so I ended up working for a guy who really I mentored me from a business perspective, is where I learned how to read P&Ls and understand operations and finance and sales and how a large company works in electronics and aerospace manufacturing. So high
Hmm.
reliability environment where everything has to be built perfectly. Quality
Yeah.
is number one behind, or number two behind safety. It was always safety, quality, delivery, cost were the priority of our metrics.
Hmm.
And so I worked in that environment for a decade. Along the way, just because I've always been into sports and have done, distance running, distance cycling, a P90X, got into
Oh man,
CrossFit. Yeah, I
going
was.
back. Don't tell people how old we are, bro.
It's been fun lately, telling people how old I am because I've started to reach that age. It's sort of like reverse.
Yeah.
What was the movie where the girls stay the same
Uh,
age and I keep getting older?
oh man, that's yes, yes, they're all smoking weed. What the
Yeah,
man? The
yeah,
girl's got it's my sixth year of high school.
yeah. I feel like it's the other way
Yeah,
around, where like
yeah.
we've reached that age where if you work out, like the guys just keep getting older, but you stay the same age.
Yes,
Training's
yes,
like the fountain of
yes.
youth.
Yeah. Oh, it
Uh,
absolutely is. There's
so I've
another
been
movie
running
that's
into some.
slipping my mind too with
I know it's driving
Leonardo
me crazy.
DiCaprio, where he's going backwards. He gets older.
Oh yeah,
He gets younger.
yeah, yeah.
I forget that one. Yeah.
But yeah, because it's like I'm meeting guys in their 30s now, and they talk to me like they're the old guy, and I'm
Yeah, yeah.
like, I got you by a decade, brother. So, anyways, yeah, went through. Then got my mom told me because my stepbrother was doing CrossFit. He's real competitive in it at the time, in
Hmm.
the late 2000s, and he's like, you got to try this out. Looked up a gym, did that for like a year, and then got into barbell training aspect of it more because I think my brain is wired for training, not exercise. I mean, like I
Hmm.
said, I was a 3 year letterman in college rowing. So refining a repetitive process, which again comes back into the turnkey coach, is sort of how my brain works. I love doing things over and over and over again and getting consistently, incrementally better. And that appealed to me around just strength training. And then, like many, after doing that for a few years, started coaching
Hmm.
people, getting involved in a barbell community there. That's how I met Matt. He was doing a seminar. Met him in 2011, so it's been almost 15 years now since we first met. And this is Matt Reynolds, the
Yep.
founder of Barbell Logic. And I was, like I said, I was working 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week at a manufacturing plant, trying to figure out how to coach. So I'd do like a couple hours on the weekends, or I'd do a night class in the week at a local gym. But we're talking Seattle, where you got to commute 30, 45 minutes to get anywhere.
Hmm.
Especially if if it's rush hour, you're talking an hour and a half to get
Okay.
to the gym and back. So I started thinking, well, how can I work with more people if my time is constrained like this? And the idea of online coaching, this was around 2015, 2016. It's the first time I thought, well, what if I started trying to work with people online,
Remotely, yeah.
remotely, which was
Was there
kind
anybody? Was there any other players in that space at that point? Not
there
really,
was
right?
not really.
I'm
In
trying
fact,
to
we got
think
made
back.
fun of for
Trying to
even
think
the
back.
idea of it.
What
I mean,
about
Train Heroic's
Team?
been
Was Team Builder?
around.
Was Team Builder around
I
then? They
think
might have been.
I think there were some platforms that were there,
They
True
were definitely more
Coach.
like collegiate strength and conditioning centric. They were made for
Yes.
like big programs
Big
more.
programs or spitting out templates, which is, what a
Yep.
lot of our competitors are optimized for. But there wasn't really anybody out there saying that they were doing coaching
Hmm.
and that really kind of high value individualized coaching.
Hmm.
And I was, like, what would it look like? I could send a spreadsheet, we could do emails, maybe my cell phone, and then that was right around. I mean, Matt called me 3 months after I formed my LLC to start trying to do this, and said, "Hey, I'm starting this online coaching company."
No shit.
And I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. Tell me about it. And the thing that struck me about Matt, and to this day, I value in his approach to leadership, is that he had on that first call, he called me on the way to, I'll never forget this call. He's like getting into his truck. He had just picked up some tacos. He's running around town, driving all these errands, and he's calling all the coaches he can get to try to build this initial team because he wanted to be ready for a big launch. And, so he's like, well, tell me about this company that you're trying to build. And he right then had a mission, a vision, and core values, and could speak to not just what the business was going to be, but why he wanted to do it and
Hmm.
what was important to him as a company for the business that we were trying to build. So right away, it was clear to me that he had a vision for something bigger than just like, hey, we're going to charge some people money and try to, make some money coaching people
Yeah, you
online.
saw that there was some real substance and thought behind it too.
Yes, he had invested a lot of time into that and he had written out systems. So it was defining what the online coaching service was going to look like, how, like, what the time response time was going to be, when programming was due, how he was going to supervise all these coaches. So he had this team leader org structure that was kind of
Hmm.
defined to ensure that service was at as high as possible.
Right.
He's very much a service oriented businessman, and from his background in the gym, and so that really resonated with me right out of the gate because I was in manufacturing, like I said at the time, and I was running a facility. We had 100 mechanics, and the culture side of things was always super important to me.
Hmm.
And I spent a lot of time working with my leadership team to define what the culture was going to be. And what's been interesting over the years, in contrast to the corporate world, is the corporate world has all that stuff too: mission,
Yep.
vision, core values. But it's really rare that you see the leadership team pause in the midst of a high pressure decision and say, hold up, let's check with our values what we're trying to accomplish here and why, and inform the decision that we're
Sure.
trying to make. I have seen Matt do that over and over and over again, to the point where we will make the decision that is not the most financially optimal for the business, but it's the right thing to do based on our core values and our mission and our vision.
Sure. Sure.
And often that played out in terms of paying coaches and or ensuring that the service was better for the customer.
I mean, I can't think of any situation where Dan and I or other businesses that we work with have stood their ground on their core values or their mission and said, you know what, that's just not the right program, product, service, or people for us to do business with, where it hasn't come out better. At that
Right.
time, you might be losing money at that moment. You're going to
Right.
lose whatever it is, 10, 20, 50 grand of like an opportunity. But long term, you kept your soul. You
Right.
you stayed focused on your mission,
Right.
you know, me and you've talked about it a few times, right? I in the fitness game, especially in the brick and mortar gym game, simplicity is what wins.
Hmm.
When you take on too many things and you complicate things, that's when you start to see businesses start to fall apart because
Right.
it becomes harder to manage, right?
Right.
And I think a lot as young entrepreneurs, we want to say yes to everything, but I think the most powerful word in business is, nah, that's just not for us.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I
know?
mean, one of our taglines is simple, hard, effective.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
now, in contrast to that, leading up to Turnkey Coach, fast forward 3 years later, I started out as a 1099 online coach. I was the first alternate. It's kind of a
So
funny
he
story.
basically just hired you as a coach first. So
Yep.
you left a
Ten,
freaking nuclear
no,
engineering
no, no, no,
job to
no.
it.
No, no. This was still pure side hustle at that point.
Okay, okay, okay. All
So
right.
December
You
20,
didn't burn the ships yet.
no,
Right.
no, no, no,
No,
no.
okay.
December 26th, because I mean, I was a pretty high level executive
Yeah,
making
yeah.
pretty good money. Fortunately at that point in my life, I didn't have any debt. I was stable, but there was no way I could just become a coach. And when we launched in 2016, I started with 5 clients.
Mm-hmm.
And
Damn.
over the course of 2017 and 2018, this actually is kind of funny that the subject of your conference is going to be intern to employee,
All
or
star.
what was
Yeah,
it, superstar to all
intern to
star.
all star. Yeah.
I basically did that, where I started as a 1099 contract coach with 5 clients, and over 3 years I built up my roster: 10, 15, 20, 25 clients, still doing this as a side hustle. I took over at one point. Some Matt got to a point where that team leader structure I was talking about was starting to feel a little bit too cumbersome, and I had demonstrated. I basically just took on as much work as I could at every opportunity, whether it was making a slide deck, whether it was helping them think through some sort of programming, being part of whatever community event was going on. I just put myself in front of them as many times as I could
Mm-hmm.
and just added as much value to the company as I could without asking for compensation. I wasn't trying to, like, it wasn't it wasn't like Machiavellian or anything. I was just all in. And at one point, he then eventually asked me to take over all of the team leader positions. So we had 5 team leaders that were responsible for ensuring 100%, 100% on time delivery, which was all manual at that time. You had to go in and like spot check the coach's feedback to make sure that it was getting done within
That they were
24 hours.
answering communication with clients
Right.
and or getting their programming done, or like a little bit of
Both,
both. Yeah.
both. The
Okay.
the programming at the time was weekly, it had to be done by Sunday night, and feedback had to be 24 hours. So there was 2 checkpoints there. And
Okay.
then spot checking quality as well. So I took all of that over, and I remember having this call with him in spring of 2018. He asked me like, "Okay, so how many hours are you working right now?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm like 10, 12 hours a week or a day at the day job, and then I get home and hang out with the family, train, and then I might either work another couple hours at night or I get up early at like 4 in the morning and
And
work for
work a
an
little
hour or
bit.
two." And that's how I did my coaching. And he's like, all right. I You're probably only going to be able to do that for about a year, and we got to figure something out. And he was right. I started
Yeah. Yeah.
burning
Yeah.
out pretty hard. That was
I'm
not
sure.
sustainable. But it just so happened that, I sort of cobbled together enough income from everything on the side hustle business to take a gamble at making that full time for a bit.
Wow.
So we're still very young company at that point, and he couldn't really offer a salary compared to what I was doing in the corporate world. And he put together the best offer he could, and it was about a 75% pay cut. But I didn't love what I was doing. It didn't feel like I couldn't see a future in the corporate ladder. And so I took the gamble. I had enough savings and figured, you know what, let's see what happens. So
Shit.
March in 2019, I pulled the cord, bailed on my career, 10-year career in the manufacturing world, and tried to see what we could do with the online stuff.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that. You bet on yourself, you know what I mean? And that's a great, I mean, that's a great story for any entrepreneur. How, now that you're fully embedded in the business,
Yep.
obviously, I always look at, you know, when I look at every pivotal moment in our growth, it was almost attached to a who
Hmm.
that had more capacity and want to than the
Yep.
current team and people. How did that transform your ability to, obviously contribute to Turnkey Coach and
Right.
Barbell Logic, and but also the growth of the company? Like when you get a number two, like
Hmm.
when I partnered with Dan,
Yep.
we were able to cover so much more ground, and then
Right.
then you get a Mike, and then you get an Adam, right? Whatever it is, how was, and it's also a mindset shift. When you burn the
Hmm.
ships, like you kind
Yep.
of go home to your family and be like, all right, we're doing this, and
Yep.
like this is either going to work or we're going to have a really bad conversation in 6 months and
Yep.
it's going to really hurt. So
Yep.
how did all that pan out, and kind of give me some of the the thought process and the mindset shift and the
Yeah.
workload, and and how did things grow from that point on?
Well, yeah, it's funny you got the picture of Arnold in the back because I have this
Yeah.
quote from him. I remember when I was in the midst of the corporate world, I saw this interview with Arnold, and it was a question that somebody was asking him, like, "Hey, I think I want to be a trainer or I want to be a coach. Should I quit my day job and just go make it and just make it work?" And Arnold's response was, "No. You don't just, burn the bridges with no plan. What you do is you earn money to pay the bills during the day, and then you go and then you train and then you build your business
Yeah.
in the the nighttime hours." So like that was my mindset leading up to that decision. I literally applied that to my life, and did it as long as I could until the point I was going to break, and then I had about a year that I think I could take a gamble to make it work. That was my mindset going into it. In terms of that, the attached to a who, that was very much, I think, what happened here, because I don't think Matt even really knew what he was getting with me in terms of my background. It took a couple of years for him to figure out, oh, this guy has a engineering degree and
Yeah.
a decade of operations leadership and 6 years of engineering leadership in the Navy, And one of Matt's superpowers is connecting people. So about a year in, he's like, "Hey, I got this client who's a software developer. He thinks he can do some things that are better than what we're using right now. Why don't you work with him for a bit and see what you can do?" And it was just exactly what you said. I had a little extra capacity because, I went from working like 90 hours a week sometimes to maybe not every week, but, I was working a ton before to having a lot more capacity and a lot more skill set, unused, untapped abilities. And then this client who just was passion project, coding on the side. So we started working together in the summer of 2019 on what is now Turnkey Coach. And it was one of those moments where, kind of actually to the opposite of what you were saying, of what we were talking about, simple, hard, effective.
Hmm.
Matt
Hmm.
also has, I think, a knack for identifying what he calls the moonshots, or there's occasionally these opportunities where you got to swing for the fences.
Sure.
Not every single time. Day to day, you want to hit
I agree with that.
you want to play your money ball, right? You want to hit the singles and the doubles, and you want to stay in the system. But every once in a while, you want to swing for the fences. He did that with connecting me and having me spend time on the software. And then he's also done it with the military contracts. That was another one where we took a couple big swings and it paid off.
That's
But
awesome.
I started working in 2019 with David Hahn,
Hmm.
the software developer. And after about 6 months, I said, "Matt, I think I got something that's better than what we're using right now."
Hmm. Hmm.
And he it took him a little bit because anytime you use a different platform, it's going to take a little learning curve.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
he tried it and he's like, I think it's slower. So it took about a week or two for me to kind of like coach him through. It's because it's a different workflow. Um, but once he got it, it clicked, and
Hmm.
we just built from there. So our other tagline is minimum effective dose,
Sure.
and that's infused in our strength training program methodology. But I think it's also in our work culture. Even though I just said swing for the fences, that does
Yeah. Yeah.
occasionally happen. Most of our
Oh,
work
you
we're
got to. You
incrementally
got to.
building. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Even Mr. 3000, Derek Jeter hit a bunch of home runs, right? You still got to hit
right,
home runs.
right. Um, and the what Turnkey Coach, how that's really evolved is a combination of Matt's vision, core values. We're not just a programming company; we're a coaching company, and I think this is again one of the things that matches well with your community and your cultures. You guys care about the human connection,
Hmm.
and I've heard you talk about on podcasts hospitality,
Yes.
not just service, but hospitality. And
Yes.
that's been something, you talk about opportunities that we've had along the way to try to sell a lower price product, like let's just sell templates, let's just sell programs. That's what everybody
Hmm.
says online coaching is. That's what most of the market was going after. We really stuck with the vision and the mission to deliver as much service and as much value as possible to our customers in a way that also made money for our coaches and obviously the business. So it
Okay.
wasn't just like what's the fastest way to get more revenue. It was genuinely pursuing the a product and a service that was as high of a value service as possible.
Well, look, I mean, we're, for total transparency to our listeners, we've been working with Andrew and demoing a product that they've built out custom for us to utilize for what we need it for. And we've been testing that system here. So far, the results and the feedback from my team has been exceptional. But again, the most exceptional part of it is the service that we're getting
Mm,
personally
mm,
from you guys.
mm,
And that's the difference between hospitality. The difference between service, service is we train clients, they leave, they get an automated message that their session was completed or their next session is booked for next Tuesday.
mm,
Hospitality is at the end of the week, I roll call all my clients and say, Andrew, great job this week, man. I really appreciate you made all 12 sessions last month. And I really noticed an improvement in your push-ups over the beginning when you started. great job, man. Like, keep that going. Let's keep it clean over the weekend. I'll see you on Monday, brother. Like,
Right.
that's hospitality.
Right.
Hospitality is you're laying seeds for success. In a hotel, it might be asking people the types of pillows, sheets, scents they want in their room. It's how do I lay the seeds of success for these people so when they leave my hotel, they had an unbelievable experience. Well, the same thing is here. We're just a hotel that happens to work out a lot, right? And it's like, and it's
Hmm.
like when people leave here, how do we exceed the expectation, give
Right.
them all the seeds that they need to grow successfully? And I think that, you guys, we've worked with a lot of platforms. We've tried a lot of them, and we have never gotten the service or the hospitality that we've gotten from you guys. And
I appreciate that.
that's a big deal because, again, for businesses to grow, remember, and I want to lay a little golden nugget for all the listeners and the people that have gyms or they're starting gyms or you got a busy gym. Remember, there's a lot of platforms out there. Some good, some great, some in between, some whatever. You're going to find what works for you and your systems. But when you're going to go into business and you're going to pay for another service, whatever that money is, whatever it is, you're going to, hire a marketing agency. You're going to subscribe to a digital training platform, right? You want to think of it as a partnership
Mm.
because, or you're just paying for something, right? It's
Hmm.
like, nobody's excited about paying their like electrical bill. We're not partnering with the electrical company. The electrical company does no good. Here in New Jersey, we have some of the most expensive electric in the country too, which is
Mm.
ridiculous, right? And and the most expensive taxes and the worst roads, and I could just go on. But the reality is
Sounds like
that
a lovely place.
it's awesome, right? No, but we do have some cool shit. We do have good pizza. The best damn pizza. And
Okay. Well.
but the reality is that, if you're going to pay for a service,
Mm.
wouldn't it be better to partner with a company that's also going to serve you and check in on you and call you? Like, when was the last time, your electrical company called to see how you were doing? Like, hey, is everything
Mm.
going good at your house? Like, is there anything
Right.
we could do better for you? It's like that doesn't happen, right? Because they're
Right.
not looking for partnerships, they're just looking for payments. And that inherently is where our head goes. And the conversations I had last year with Matt and all the conversations I had with you are, hey, I have a service. We don't need to pay for another service. I'm
Hmm.
looking for a partner. I'm
Right.
looking for a partner who wants to do cool shit with us and help other businesses grow. And
Yeah.
so for all the people that listen, when you start spending real money on marketing like we do, or digital platforms like we do, right, or a lawyer or an accountant, I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for
Mm.
people who want to fly the flag and believe what we do. And I want to walk into my accountant's office and see two of their employees wearing Varsity House gear that we gave them and shit like that because they believe in what we do. Like, that stuff's important to me because you can spend money in a million places, but there's only a handful of companies and people that I want to partner with, and that
Mm.
inherently makes a big difference.
That's really cool to hear because to me, I think that's another example of actual culture. Because it's not like
Yeah,
Matt sat me down and said, "Hey, Andrew, okay, here's how to approach this relationship."
yeah,
And it's not, I didn't do that with Mac either. Mac
yeah,
is he works with me on the sales side and has
mhm,
done probably some of the communication as well. But it's
yep,
just in our DNA, this is how we do what we do. And that's the kind of interaction that you'll have with anybody in the company
it's great.
because that's just how we prioritize that type of relationship in the service. And we're
It's awesome.
coaches. So, we
Yeah,
sympathize. Like the reason the product is what it is today as it's evolved is because I was trying to provide that uh, exceptional level of service and value to my online coaching clients, and I coach every single day. So the features aren't there because I did some fancy survey or tried to design the perfect product for marketing or
hmm,
sometimes it doesn't actually look very pretty, to be completely honest. It's something that I've
sure.
always somewhat been a little ashamed of, although I continue to get feedback from people that they appreciate how simple it is.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the apps, especially the ones that were around in the 2020 2021 era when the market just got flooded with cash, invested a lot into these bells and whistles that don't really do anything, but they look cool. And we're just, again, a company that focuses on simple, hard, effective methods of delivering high value to our customers, which we define as building trust with our clients through demonstrating ability, integrity, and benevolence. And over the years, what we found is the most effective way to do that is through video feedback. And that's really at the heart of the
Yeah.
platform is a video exchange platform that enables the coach to very efficiently, because again, my background's in lean manufacturing. So we started with automated metric tracking being sort of the differentiating feature for us, where it records automatically every single PR for every single set and rep combo for every single exercise. So you can do exactly the kind of thing you were talking about, where you can recognize when somebody's hit a PR on every single exercise, every single set and rep. So you can be like, man, nice job. You just hit your 5x6 Bulgarian split squat PR today, making progress. Or you can at least demonstrate that they're making progress. Or you can demonstrate that, or you can show them visually they came back from vacation. Maybe the weight's a little bit lower, but they're at 90% of their PR after a week off. So you're clearly stronger than you were 6 months ago because now you're hitting 90% after taking a 2 week break off.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like where it started, and where it's evolved to is a extremely efficient workflow because I systematically eliminate waste. That's what lean manufacturing really is you start with the customer and define what they value, and then you work back up the value chain throughout the entire operational process, and you identify every single opportunity for eliminating waste, which waste is by definition something that the client doesn't value, meaning they don't want to pay for it. Classic
Yeah.
examples: if you go to get your oil changed, you don't want to go pay for the technician to do their checklist or organize their parts because they left their wrench on the other side of the shop. You want to pay for the amount of time that it takes for them to replace the oil and the oil, so the parts and the actual service. Everything else around that needs to be completely optimized for them to deliver that service as quickly as possible. And the same, we have applied that same mentality to Turnkey Coach. So the really the differentiator I think in the market for Turnkey Coach is that you as a coach can provide that really high value, that high trust service at a fraction of the time because we've eliminated all the waste. So it's not
Yeah.
because you're just going faster. This is a key point.
Right.
More efficient workflow does not mean you're just going faster, trying to, you know, work, click faster, type faster, move your mouse faster. It's because you're not wasting time.
Hmm.
You're moving efficiently from value add task to value add task and not having to rework. So when I was doing video feedback before Turnkey Coach, sometimes I would type in the wrong video name, or I'd upload the wrong video. The client would get the wrong video. Like, so now you've just taken this opportunity to build trust and completely eroded trust because now they're like, what? Why am I getting this guy's video? Oh, he must be rushing,
Yeah.
things like that. So, a lot of features, a lot of the product is geared towards enabling the coach and the client to build a relationship. And this is something I'm hoping over the next two events I can emphasize more with the in-person community. Gym owners, I think sometimes are skeptical of online coaching because it feels like you don't have that same level of relationship, and I think that's true. But I think you can get as close as possible to being in the to the same level of relationship without having to be in the same place at the same time with something like video feedback, because you
Hmm.
can just if you think about the amount of information that you can communicate in a video. Just again, my engineering brain. You
Yeah.
look at just text only feedback, you're only sending like a few kilobytes to write a whole paragraph, and it might take you 10 minutes to write that paragraph. If you do
Right.
a voice memo, you might be sending 10, 15, maybe 20 kilobytes, and it takes you a couple of minutes to send that voice memo. Video feedback, you're going to send 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 megabytes of data, and it takes you that same 2, 3 minutes on average.
Yeah.
But they can see your face, they can hear your voice, they can see your body language.
Yeah. There's no mistaking emphasis points,
Right.
even just authority, empathy, like, hey, you got to
Yes.
do this better, like that stuff like that. Like,
Right.
you got to do this better on a text. It can mean 50 different things to a different
Totally.
person. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You know Anthony Deal,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he said it really well. He thinks of it as three levels of emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, sometimes he'll do text only, if it's a low EQ situation. Next level is voice memo. And then when he's got to make sure everything's communicated right, he does the video feedback. And
Yeah.
he's actually become a real big champion of video feedback once he realized. What was interesting about Anthony is I used to call it movement coaching was like the
Mhm.
true value of the video
Mhm.
feedback because
Mhm.
I would watch my clients' videos and provide them feedback. Anthony doesn't actually do a lot of movement coaching. A lot of his clients are in bodybuilding or just recomposition, and
Mhm.
they're not uploading a ton of videos, but he still does video feedback because he realized how much better of a connection he could maintain. And his
Yeah.
clients started telling him, "Oh my God, I love this. Like, I feel like I'm having a conversation with you."
Yeah. We
Um,
metric it here. Our coaches have to send 5 video text a week to their clients each, right? Because it's like, hey, shooting out like when we used to do we do like a weekly wrap up at the end of each week where there's a certain
mhm.
amount of communication, kind of similar to what you do, like that 24-hour communication. Hey, at the end of each
Yep.
week, we wrap up communication with each trainer's book of clients. So when you join the gym here at Varsity, you kind of get assigned to a coach. Whether you train with that coach regularly or not doesn't matter. They're kind of your accountability coach. They're like your point of contact and lead.
Hmm.
We can switch them over if it winds up that you only wind up training privately with. If you wind up training privately, that's going to be your coach or that's going to be your person. But if you're doing
Hmm.
classes, it's
Yep.
hard to monitor because we don't know when you're coming all the time. So
Right.
you get assigned to a coach, they're your accountability coach. It's that person's job to follow up each week with those clients and say, how's it going? What do you need help with? Where you been? I noticed you only used one of your 3 sessions this week. Is everything okay? Do you need help booking next week? Right. But a lot of that can be a video, right? But like you
Hmm.
said, the
Yep.
emotional side, the human side,
Yep.
that doesn't come through on a text. Hey
Right.
Andrew, it's Joe. I just want to check in, man. I didn't see you this week. I only know you got here on Monday. Is everything okay? Let me know how I can help. I hope you have a great
Yep.
week. Let's touch base and I'll get you booked out for next week. Have a great weekend, brother. That's
Yep.
a totally
That's it.
different thing.
Yep.
So I
Y-
love that. I love
Yeah. I
that
mean, you think
feature.
about the most popular platforms right now and the most popular types of video on those platforms, Instagram and YouTube,
Yeah.
are a combination of either the talking head,
Talking
I'm sitting
heads.
in my car, I'm
Yep.
on my walk, or in YouTube, it's called a React video, which is essentially what
Yes.
Turnkey
Yes.
Coach is optimized for, is to create these React videos. You can do it on your phone also,
Yep.
but my day-to-day like normal workflows, to fire up the video, the screen recording, and a little picture in the picture in the corner pops up of me reacting to their training, and people love it. In an attention economy, getting attention from another human has a ton of value, and that's really what we're doing. There's very few people, especially in the strength training world, that unless you're part of a gym community, which I did for years, and I loved the time that I had in the team training environment. And if you can get to that, excellent. I think that we've always said, if you can get high quality in person coaching in a gym community, do that for
Yes.
sure. And like, if you can get to a VH gym, go sign up.
Yeah.
I guarantee you're going to get better results, and you're going to have more fun, and you're going to have a community.
And you're just gonna have people that are fun, that like give a shit and want want to
Exactly.
want to see you win, right? Like, don't you like
Exactly.
it's like, don't you want to be around winners that want to see you win? Like,
Exactly.
everybody's got that too. Everybody's got a friend, family member who's like the negative pus, who's like, we call this the suck you bus. There was a South Park episode, the suck you bus, that like sucks
Yeah.
the life out of you. And it's like everything's
Yeah.
like, oh man, I just got this dude Jeff. Wow, that commute's gonna suck. It's like, all
Uh,
right, asshole, thank you.
your
Thank you.
your knees are you're gonna blow your knees out. Like, how many times I heard something like
Oh my
that,
God. Yeah.
like,
Oh,
but
oh,
most of, there's how many billions of people in the world now don't have access to a world class gym like
nope.
yours. Or if they do, the commute changes, or their work changes, or they're traveling, or whatever. And now maybe they're working at a 24-hour fitness, working out, or they're in their home gym if they're lucky enough to have one. And to have somebody who's one, a high quality coach, and cares about their training, that benevolence piece I was talking about earlier, that's so much value in the market, and there are so many people, which is why we started offering Turnkey Coach outside of Barbell Logic. Is like, we want to grow the pie. Our mission is to connect as many coaches with as many people as possible so they can improve their quality of life. And
Mhm.
Barbell Logic's not the only company that can do that. We speak to a certain demographic, and other people speak to totally different audience. So that's really kind of where we're at. And with gyms, what we're working on, one of the challenges we've been having is uh, helping gym owners see that value. Some immediately get it, that they can extend the lifetime value of their client. Uh, uh, they have a core service of in-person coaching
Mhm. Mhm.
or training or semi-private, tends to be sort of like the highest profitability margin or
Mhm.
service for a small gym.
For sure.
Uh, but eventually logistics become a roadblock for somebody to be able to continue coming, or because progress tends to start to taper off a little bit or at least slow down, sometimes they don't see the value equation quite the same.
Sure.
And so having the ability to stay connected asynchronously enables the gym owner to offer a lower price point that still maintains almost as much value. It keeps them in the community, enables the coach and the client to maintain that relationship. And maybe they're seeing each other once a week, or maybe it's only once a month, or however, whatever the frequency is, the coach and the client can work that out. It just offers you more flexibility. So it does add a little bit of complexity to the business, but you can't be, but Turnkey Coach really allows you to streamline that and organize it so that operationally it's not a huge overhead to maintain that service
Yeah.
to your clients.
Well, I think it also like, you talk about communication and having the video feedback, and you mentioned something like, people getting affirmation from other humans and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I mean, that's
Hmm.
our entire society right now. It's like,
Hmm.
likes are, you know, as addictive as crack cocaine in a sense, right? And you got
Yeah.
kids, on the phone scrolling for 4 hours, like doom scrolling at night, every night, so
Right.
I think the reality is that everybody communicates in different ways, and
Sure.
as for running a business and running the marketing of our business for years now, it's so funny to me how you know I'll text a group of people and it's basically like ghost.
Yeah.
I'll send them an email and they respond. I'll DM a bunch of people and nothing, and then I'll DM
Hmm.
some other people and they respond. Right? It's like it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is
True.
individually
True.
specific. And I think this just gives training businesses like ours who are focused on hospitality and delivering that world class service, it
Hmm.
just gives them another place. If let's say we switched over 100% of our customers and the back end of it for the trainer side, for our end, from the business side, was way better,
Hmm.
right? Just because it was easier, more streamlined, more efficient, whatever, right?
Yep.
If 10% of my people at some point it would be 1,000, it'd be 2,000 clients, right? At some point, if 10% of the people fucking love it because they love the communication, they love the app, they love the in-person communication, they love the feedback, but they absolutely love it. To me, that's a giant win in and of itself.
Right.
Just like our Facebook group. We have not every one of our members is in our private Facebook group, but there's some people who love it and they're in there every
Right.
day and they're
Exactly.
posting recipes and they're talking to each other and they're organizing a Sunday walking group and stuff like that. And it's like, well, that's the win. That's
Yes.
it's not, oh, we need all 1,000 people. No, I need 250 people that love it.
Sure.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And really, like,
Right.
you look at it like that, it's like that where it's like some people like the third, like that Starbucks model, right? That is Starbucks. They wanted to be, we want it to be your third place. You got work, you got home, you got your
And then
favorite
you go
coffee shop where
Starbucks.
you can
Yeah.
come relax and do some work and so forth.
We talk about that a lot with the product design. There's this constant tug of war between whether to try to appeal to a broader market and a wider range of customers,
Hmm.
or do you really serve your fans, your fanatics? And we prefer serving the fanatics because of exactly what you're talking about there. If you get 10% of your uh, clients that are super passionate, that's going to bleed out to other people of that that want to be around that type of energy, which are your ideal customer, essentially. That doesn't mean you can't eventually broaden out. And yes, a good business will. But
Mhm.
if you're having to make a trade-off between building a service or refining your product to satisfy your fanatics versus, trying to appeal to a broader market that's not as excited, I'd rather go with, making the fanatics even
Yes.
more happy.
Yeah. Look, I who was it? I think it was the movie Gladiator, right? If you control the mob, you control Rome, right?
Yeah.
You know, the unsilent minority can be very powerful.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And like when you look at the world as a whole, right? And we're definitely not going to get political here, but
yeah.
you're able to move great swashes of humans and ideologies, whether it's social reform, business, economics, whatever, with a few people standing on their soapboxes screaming as loud as they can.
Hmm.
And that two
Hmm.
becomes four, the four becomes eight, and so forth. And I think the same thing is true about fitness. If you become the lighthouse in your community, in your group,
Mm,
right? In my family, it's me, right? I'm the one that's like, don't eat that shit. Oh, what are you doing, dude? Come on, let's,
mm, mm,
I'm that guy, right? But
yeah.
it's what I do. I can't help myself, right?
Hmm.
But if I could take five people with me in the process, and my wife's fitter than she's ever been at 50, my best friend's fitter than he's ever been at 50, and it's like, and a lot of and I'm not patting myself on the back, but they come to me and like, look, I never would do half this shit if it wasn't for you, right?
Right.
And I look at it, well, if I can get 200 people that love the platform and they're screaming from their pulpit in a sense, saying like, hey, man, you got to get on this thing. You got to. The Varsity House is the best. I never got
Mm,
better service. My coach Mike is amazing. I love it. You could do great by people your whole life, and they barely tell anybody, right?
hmm.
You got to get that percentage of people that like are literally shouting from the rafters about
Mm,
things, and I look at this as another layer of that
hmm.
communication. It's not just about the technology. Yes, I want to improve the delivery system of our training, and I want to make the interface better for our staff, but I want a platform that allows me to communicate with my clientele in a way that they didn't know was possible with their gym,
Right. Right.
right? Where like getting a spreadsheet with a workout on it, uh, I could just chat GPT that shit now. I don't
Yep.
need it. I don't
Yep.
need to hire or pay anybody to do that, right? So,
Yeah.
so those are that's where my brain goes. So I want to talk a little bit about the business side of things because,
Sure.
I think you definitely gave us a clear picture of like the platform and how it helps coaches. But I want to talk a little bit
Mm,
about what have been some of the big challenges. Like being a tech business
hmm.
in the fitness space has got to be, a tough go as a whole. Give me, some of the obviously like, you know, how is it servicing the fitness industry as a tech company with quite a bit of competition in this space? One,
Hmm.
we definitely talked about your niche and what you guys niche out on, but what
Hmm.
has been some of the big roadblocks you've had, and where do you see the future of online training going as fitness as a whole is going more hospitality based, going more
Hmm.
boutique, going more lifestyle services? Where where
Right.
where do you see some of that stuff evolving?
Biggest challenges as a business, I would say, are cash. Cash
Yep.
is king, and talent.
Right.
Getting the right people. Staying alive as a startup is just part of the day-to-day grind,
Right.
and that's where the military contracts came to really pay off. That is what changed
Helped
our
create some stability.
destiny. Yes, we've essentially been able to fund the development team from the military contracts.
Fantastic.
And that was, it was one of those. But it's kind of funny because there's been these two sides of the coin where when Matt first said he wanted to go after these military contracts, I was like, I've never heard of a fitness company pulling this off. Like it's always been the dream to go service the military. It seems like this perfect fit, but nobody's
So
ever been
much
able to pull it
bureaucracy and
off.
red
There's,
tape and
yep,
shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people are constantly turning over, and you might get one person that's bought into it for 6 months, but they rotate every year and a half,
Hmm.
2 years. So I thought it was crazy, but it worked. And uh, on the other side with the app, the same thing. I thought it was kind of crazy, but it worked. And then I had to convince Matt. So, anyways, I would say cash has been the biggest challenge, and that you're just always fighting for ways to either stay more profitable, either manage costs, um, find more ways to generate revenue without selling your soul, like the military contracts ended up being, or just we go back and forth about whether to run sales. We went through a period of time where we didn't want to run any kind of discount or any kind of sales because that didn't feel like our DNA. But the reality is, the way buying psychology works,
Yes.
tend to have a reason that kind of gets people to pull the trigger. Um,
Yes.
and so those have been battles that we've had to wrestle with. When to bring on investors was kind of another big kind of
Sure.
existential change, which definitely helped through some critical times. We had a lawsuit in the midst of some early growing pains, and got through that as a team. That really brought everybody even closer, surprisingly, even though there was some fallout from it.
Hmm.
Talent on the software development side has been really tough, because software development talent, especially over the last 5, 10 years, is extremely expensive.
Yeah, and
Um,
competitive, and they're getting
and
pulled by a lot of big company, like huge company,
that's right.
Google's, Facebook's. Yeah, yeah,
At any point in time, a developer can pull out a competitive offer and say, like, I like working with you. This is a great project, but I can't turn down 500,000 or,
yeah,
whatever ridiculous
yeah.
contracts they can get. So we did, that the first developer I worked with kind of had it as a passion project for the first year and a half. And then he had a kid and then a second kid and then a third kid. And he was like, I got to just focus on,
I
what
gotta
I
get
can.
that bag. Yeah, I gotta get
Yeah.
the money. Yeah, yeah.
His brother happened to also be a developer and had a opening in his career and worked with us for a while. We were able to keep that going. And then we found a company that we've been working with for the last 3 years that is more of a fractional
Yeah, oh yeah.
service. Just so happens to be run by Matt's brother, Chris Reynolds.
Oh
Awesome
wow.
company. It's the second company Chris Reynolds is run, but that's really given us a lot of flexibility because we can manage
Ramp
our
it up
dev
or ramp it
hours. That's
down.
right.
Sure, sure,
Yep.
sure.
So we can manage our cash flow really well right now without having to commit to a full-time employee. So you talk about decision, like when do you do 1099? When do you do employee? Starting out, we've really had to try to keep our employee base as tight as possible because one, we want to be able to compensate them well, and two, we need to be able to operationally control our expenses. And
Sure.
overhead is one of the
No, I
biggest
mean, that was one of
expenses
the
we
biggest
have.
mistakes we made. We didn't have a great hold on that employee scale slash payroll earning
Yep.
model, and we overspent for years. And then, we were at one point, I think we were 50%, 57% of our revenue
Yep.
was allocated to payroll, and we weren't making any money. We're like, what the hell are we doing here? So
Yep. Yeah, that one's been probably the hardest part, and this again goes back to leadership because Matt has been able to arrange a position for somebody that probably should be getting paid more. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
probably in that same bucket actually. I mean, I just last year, not inflation adjusted, took home more than I did in 2018.
there you go. There
And
you
so like
go.
that was a huge milestone, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
took 6 years to get there, and
yeah, yeah,
and a lot of work. Uh, but because I believe in the mission and I believe in the culture, it's worth it to me. Like I'm doing what
yeah,
I love. I feel like I retired.
yes,
And I think that works when you have a strong company culture and people that believe in the mission. They're willing to do things that maybe don't make sense on paper from a
yes,
salary or a compensation perspective.
yes,
Um, and so that's been something we've really constantly had to balance. Um, on the software side, the fitness industry is extremely tough. I would say one just big picture, it's a generally small and medium sized businesses. Yes, there are some huge companies that are out there, but that's not really our target market. Our ideal customer is in that small and medium sized business, which is a tough market to sell to in general, in a B2B
yeah,
world, because every gym owner or coach is already working probably more than they want to. And we're trying to offer them a solution that would help them reduce their hours, but at the beginning of that process, it's probably going to take more hours to go through the learning curve, get things set up, and it might require them to develop a model that they don't yet understand or do. So video feedback is great. It's easy for me to say that because I've been doing it for 10 years.
Hmm.
But for somebody who's used to being on the platform and coaching in person, the idea of sitting in front of a computer and doing video feedback can be sometimes a tougher sell. Um, and so I would say figuring out how to market to that audience and demonstrate that the value is going to be enough to justify going through the change management curve. There's the hype cycle kind of curve where you have the high expectations and then the trough of reality, and then you end up getting a little bit better in the long run. And we've been working a lot on how to, what language to use and how to articulate how much value you get on the other side. Um, and some of that, perfect example of that is how I've changed how I talk about movement coaching versus the value of video feedback from a relationship perspective, not just being value add if somebody uploads a video. It's
Hmm.
value
Hmm.
add even if you're just using it as a way to communicate more emotional intelligence. Um, and then differentiating in the market, I think has been interesting. I came in pretty, I don't know, insecure, I guess you'd call it, because we're
Yep.
up against a lot of companies that have been around longer, have more funding, further down the development cycle. And while I believe that the core value proposition of Turnkey Coach is better than most of our competitors, it's different and it doesn't quite look as pretty. So in some ways, so I feel like we've always been playing catch up with the market, and that can be challenging because
Sure.
like I said, they're small, medium-sized businesses, typically don't have a lot of time, and they're evaluating often on sometimes superficial things. And if a competitor can show they've got a couple of forms that look a little better, and it's a little more polished, they got a better looking app that you can download. Sometimes that gets to be a harder sell because you don't feel the full value of Turnkey Coach, in my experience, until you've got that first day of 10 client notifications, or a handful of programming notifications, a birthday reminder, a missed workout notification,
Hmm.
and you work through that in 10, 15 minutes, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, I just did 3 hours of work in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know all my customers are taken care of. I don't have any open loop in my head like, oh, did I remember this? Did I forget that? Does so and so have a program? Did so and so work out? Did they miss a workout or did they get it done? Did
Right.
somebody hit a
It
PR?
organizes all those, in a
Yes.
sense, points of contact that are, in front of you, which is amazing.
Yeah. So learning how to sell a pain point that the customer might not feel, or learning how to connect to a pain point that they do feel, and show how Turnkey Coach would solve that pain point, is something we're still refining the sales
Well,
pitch.
talk to me about, I mean, you guys do offer a lot of data metrics too on the
Hmm.
training and stuff like that. So talk
Yep.
about some of that stuff. I mean, I think that stuff's some real powerful stuff that separates you guys a lot too.
Well, yeah, this comes back to the systems that Matt wrote 10 years ago. We care about on-time delivery. How long did it take the client to get feedback? We care about consistency. How many workouts and how many exercises did the client complete?
Hmm.
Uh, you know, we have a lot more data that eventually we will be able to display, but as a starting point, we show tonnage, we show all the PRs, we show recent history. I have clients that are on workout over. I have a client that's over 2,000 workouts completed. So again, this is the power of asynchronous coaching. There's no way. I don't know. Maybe you've probably got some clients that keep showing up 10 years later, 15 years later.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is certainly higher probability that you're going to be able to maintain some of those relationships.
Hmm.
And recent history often becomes a better visualization of progress that's meaningful than their lifetime PR. So even if
Yes.
they're not hitting a lifetime PR, if you can show, hey, this is what the progress we've been making on this exercise over 12 weeks, you can show that there's a consistency metric, so you can show how many sessions were completed versus missed in a visualization. Um, Yeah, we track, I mean, as a business, we track churn, and that there are ways you can get that data from Turnkey Coach on our enterprise level.
Hmm.
So yeah, business metrics. I mean, that's a whole other conversation we could go to that we track for Barbell Logic, but within Turnkey Coach, the response time and client consistency and PRs are really the big data set that you have to work with there.
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, I love that stuff, and that stuff. I think it just puts a lot of that stuff front and center. So, again, you open up your platform, and like here's a bunch of things that you can action right away that are improving the client experience right there.
Yeah, and this comes back to my lean manufacturing background that I think is a differentiator for Turnkey Coach is that there's a lot of the platforms out there are very that are very data driven. They throw a lot of information at you,
Yes.
or they throw a lot of graphs and charts and numbers, but it's not always clear what to do.
Hmm.
In lean manufacturing, one of the core tenets is that the next job to be done is super clear to the worker. And
Mm,
it's just the the next job is you grab it, you do your job, and you pass it on. And you have this repetitive task that you're doing that you're able to keep in flow state at all times. Materials flowing all the time through the factory.
mm.
And this is a
I
key
love that
differentiator
analogy. Yeah, I
Turnkey
forget
Coach.
what that's called. Yeah, I don't want to cut you off, but that's
Yeah,
part of the pro. But is it Parkinson's? No, I forget what it's called. But there's a certain amount of mental loss that occurs when you switch from task to task. I forget what it's called, but again,
yes,
but that happens, and if like you can, the more you can keep people on task,
that's right.
the more they can accomplish, right? And the more I got to switch from marketing to a call to
Right.
a team meeting, that you lose like minutes of time in between each
Exactly.
one of cognitive focus.
The best example I can think of that blew me away when we integrated screen recording to Turnkey Coach, and I no longer had to start up the extra platform, stop it, save the file name, go find it, upload it, verify that it was the correct video, and that all became just like two clicks of a button in the app. The biggest difference there was that there were steps in that process where I could pick up my phone. There was just enough time for me to get distracted
Yeah,
or like have a
yeah,
thought like, oh, wait, there was that email over here. And so when you're able to stay in that flow state,
yeah.
you eliminate those. Those are often that's a great example in my mind of those pain points that people might not realize that they're picking up their phone for 3 to 5 minutes between tasks. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but you add 3 to 5 minutes to a task that you need to do 10 or 15 times in a day. Well, now you've got 30, 45 minutes that's just gone, which again might not seem like that much, but if you're doing it every single day or multiple times a day, that's huge. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
added a 45-minute commute to your day.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, look, we could do a whole podcast on productivity
Yes,
and so forth. I mean, like, as a businessman and somebody with your background, how your employees are utilizing their time is such a critical aspect of your ability to generate revenue, right? So, like, in the training business, we often think about like, and this is, I think, is one of the dogmas in our industry, as a lot of gym owners only think about valuable time as paid training time,
that's right.
right? As opposed to, writing communication, like I just had our adult coordinator, Stephanie. I mean, she was just down on the floor for an hour shooting talking head videos for some of the programs we have coming up. Like, and
Hmm.
and I try to keep her and our marketing team like on a task schedule. Every Monday we meet. Here's the task for this week. We got to get them done. And it's like, hey, did you get this done? It's like, hey, you got to stand. Like, we got to get that done,
Right.
right? And I think those things. It's like, if everything comes down to efficiency. Everybody gets 24 hours. You hear this analogy and this cliche all the time. I mean, everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day. How you utilize it, the difference between like the Elon Musk of the world, and I forget who I was just listening to, but somebody was talking specifically about Elon. They said, I've never met another human ever who
Mm.
literally has no other noise in his life. There is no noise.
Right. Right.
It's Tesla and SpaceX. I do nothing else. And
Hmm.
and again, I'm not saying that that's the right thing for. Obviously, he's got strained relationships, families, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's almost like an Asperger savant who just like
Right. Right.
all I do is think about,
Yeah.
my companies, right? And then maybe that's not the balance that people want, but at some point, if you have, look, here's the reality. Most employees are always going to want more money,
Hmm.
more time off, more benefits, right? Things like that, right? That's just the reality of humans and having a career for a period of time. As a business, without just being like, fuck you, you make $65,000 and you're never making another penny here, right?
Right.
We have to look at creative ways to increase people's ability to earn and at the same time increasing their output, right?
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like again, there's never a thought process here that when I hire a coach at 50 grand, that's what they're going to make forever. It's like,
Right.
all right, at some point it's going to be 75, 80. And that means that to get from something has to change from 50 to 80 though.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? It's not like, oh, I've been really good. I've been on time
Right.
for
Right.
4 years. All right, well, that's fucking great. I've been on time for 30. Like,
Yeah.
it's great. Or like, I did all my check-ins every week. Okay, well, that's the job. That's just the expectation. You're a coach. You're supposed to check in with clients, right? So,
Yeah.
so there has to be, you have to find creative ways to increase the output, whether it's on the business side, the leadership side, the marketing or the sales side. There has to be something there that allows them. And obviously on a sales team, it's our CRM, right? The CRM
Mm.
changed the business. When it was
Right.
me, Dan, and Mike with notepads writing down people's names and shit like that,
Yeah.
sales process was really slow. When we
Right.
got a CRM and everybody's information and all the communication that we've ever had with them is in one spot, well, now we could speed things up and we've quadrupled our output, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. Marketing. Now you have digital platforms for marketing and stuff like that. And the same thing here with training. Why not as a business get the most professional that you can with your training
Exactly.
platform? The training is the product, right? And you look at like, for your company, it was aerospace products, right? But
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, all the end user cares about is the product,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And is the training good? Is the food at this restaurant hot and tasty every day? And
Hmm.
and and so if that helps us deliver, world class pizza every single day, then that's worth it, right? And that's that.
That.
It's funny now. I want to get one more thing
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
I was at a pizza place. It's blowing up down the Jersey Shore. A
Yeah.
place called Lucci, really good spot. I'll give them a plug here for anybody who's local that's listening. Belmar, New Jersey, fantastic. 8-9, eight something on Portnoy gave it a great score.
Nice.
Fantastic pizza. I come to talking to the fellow because I ordered a pizza like on the spot, so I had to wait. Engineering background as well. Was miserable with his job, left and became a baker, realized that bakery was like all work, no money, right? And was like,
Hmm.
he started making some pizzas. He would sell the pizzas out every day. He was like, maybe this pizza thing's got some legs, right? He was a
Hmm.
bread maker. So starts making pizza. I noticed he had a very highfalutin digital pizza oven. And I said, hey,
Hmm.
what's with the pizza oven, man? He's like, well, he's like, I get what everybody's saying. You want these old school cast iron pizzas, He's like, but you got to stand there and watch that pizza like a hawk.
Hmm.
He's like, this thing's like a, he's like, this thing guarantees
Consistency.
the
Yep.
consistency, same temperature throughout,
Yep.
same exact amount of time. He's like, now we've gotten the dough and the timing and the heat down to a science. He's like, every pizza comes out almost identical. And he's
Yep.
like, and what's going to deter clients more than I came to Lucci once and the pizza was amazing. Last time I went back, it was a little soggy, not that much.
That's right.
Next time I went, it was overcooked, right? So
Hmm.
that erodes trust. And we see that in the training
Yes.
business. I train with Joe, fucking sessions are off the chart. I train with Andrew,
Right.
not, I didn't get quite what I get with Joe, right? And that's what we're trying to prevent with a company like you. Is like, hey, how do we make this so that the
Yes.
client when whether it's my 24-year-old who's fresh out of college or you're training with me or Dan or Big Mike, right, a 30-year vets, you got a great product that you're happy with.
Couldn't have said it better. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun to build and to standardize. Really, what you're describing there is standardization, another huge part of lean manufacturing, and I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things that Turnkey Coach enables because you're staying in that flow state from task to task to task, and you're not having to use that cognitive load to manage what it is that you're doing next. You're just focused on delivering high quality coaching, and moving from one client at a time. We talk about single piece flow in manufacturing. I talk about single client flow in Turnkey
Like
Coach, where you
finish
just
one, go to the next. Yeah.
yeah, and you provide the whole coaching service. At least in my online coaching service, there's three things that I do in every single video feedback. I explain their programming. I talk to them about what's happening in their program, what their progress is, what we're doing next session. I give them feedback on their most recent completed workout, and then there's a third bucket we call support and accountability. Whether that's riding somebody a little bit harder or maybe I tweak the program to customize it for them, whatever it is that they need to keep going. But like you said, what they care about is the product, the final product. And from their perspective, it's the video. Everything else around that enables me to deliver
Hmm.
the service needs to be as optimized as possible. And you know, just wanted to jump back to the thing I kept trying to remember or wanting to talk about from challenges over the years has been that I work for an hourly rate
Hmm.
perspective
Yes. Yes.
because we haven't actually changed the payout to our coaches much in 6 years. But the amount of time that it took me to handle 10 clients 6 years ago is a fraction of what it is. So the hourly rate, which is incumbent upon the coach to really manage, along with the tools that, I mean, we've invested at this point millions into building a tool that enables this kind of workflow. So
Yeah.
their hourly rate is probably 10x what it was
Yeah.
6 years ago. But the per client payout is as a percentage pretty much the same. And we haven't really increased our price significantly. So from a business perspective, that's how we've stayed competitive is inflation keeps going up. Yes, we've made a couple of adjustments, but for the most part, we're able to keep our price point competitive and our payout competitive because we've invested in operational efficiency that enables the coach to make more money because they can handle more clients in less time.
Mm. I, I I I think that's a great way to think about it too. And again, that's exactly what we just talked about. Is like if I can speed up the ability of my sales team to communicate with 100 people at the same time that it used to take them to communicate with 10,
Right.
right? We've just 10x our output, and marketing and all those things kind of go together. And the training thing is now, again, and you get to a point where might say to yourself, well, that takes away from some of the um maybe some of that, like, live on the floor experience and things like that. And look, like we're a brick and mortar gym who wants to use a digital platform primarily not to sell online training. I mean,
Right.
and that's again being transparent for the listeners. Like, our goal at Varsity House is not to be the next, like, world class online programming, although we think we can trend that way, but that's
Right.
not the initial goal. The initial goal was like, hey, our goal is to we're going to open up more gyms. Our plan is to have 1,000 members in the next, 2 years. And we want to be able to give them the absolute best brick and mortar local gym experience in a super, super competitive market. So when I
Hmm.
analyze the people, the businesses, and the tools that are out there, and again, when I'm looking for partners, I'm looking for exceptional technology, I'm looking for exceptional work, right? But I'm also looking for exceptional people. It's, how do I differentiate myself in an area where I can literally spit on, 40, 50 gyms in
Hmm.
a 3 to 4 mile radius. I mean, there are literally hundreds of fitness options in Northeast New Jersey, tri-state metro area, and in anywhere. New York, the county we live in, Bergen County in New Jersey, is the most densely packed state in the country. Specifically, Bergen County and Rockland County, the two counties that we sit on, have 1 million people in each one of them, right? And our counties are not like Montana counties. It's like 35, 40, maybe 50 square miles or something like that, whatever it is. Where like out in Montana, it could be like 3,000 square miles,
Mm.
right? The reality is that you got a huge pile of people packed in. There is a Pilates, one of those Pilates zone type joints, a spin studio, a yoga studio. So it's not just strength and conditioning, but there's all these other
Yeah.
options that are all vying for that,
Why do you think
35 to
they
65.
choose you out of those 40 or 50 gyms?
For the coaching, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you're getting real coaches
Hmm.
that are holding you accountable. We have an exceptional developmental program for churning out and helping to develop great coaches. We have consistent standards across the board, like we've talked about,
Yeah.
where, like, I truly believe that, our programming is exceptional, our delivery protocol is exceptional, and our grading of our training product and so forth is exceptional, meaning that we are constantly, sampling, testing, improving, and tasting the food that we serve ourselves, so that
Hmm.
we can make it better. And that's what I think people choose us for. Plus, I think we're the best at what we do. And when it comes to strengthening, if you want to get strong, and you want to improve lean muscle mass, and what we'll call be strong, confident, and capable. You want to improve your ability to tackle life. Strength matters, and there's
Hmm.
nobody doing it better than us in our area, right? There's a lot of great gyms out there for sure, but that's our specialty for sure.
I think just to answer the last question, I think you asked me was where do I think this is going with online coaching? I think that the value of online coaching or asynchronous coaching is going to be to get as close to what you just described as possible without having to be in the same place at the same time. Now,
Yeah,
whether that goes all the way to like VR, goggle, you know, holodeck type interaction, I don't know. It doesn't seem like people are really into that form factor. It kind of seemed like it flopped when the whole VR craze hype cycle went through.
yeah,
But maybe they'll get to Google Glasses or whatever working. But in the meantime, I think programs, and this again goes back to Matt's strategy from the very beginning, programs are going to get commoditized. You can go on ChatGPT and get 70, 80% quality program pretty much at this point. But what people care about, I think, is human connection, free attention and service, hospitality, like you talked about, and having a relationship with another human that they trust. And that's where I think the companies that are able to deliver that consistently in an online format, whatever that might look like for you, if people believe they're getting that service from a company, I think those companies are going to be the ones that win out. And that's what I'm seeing when I talk to coaches all over the country that are trying to build up their online coaching. The ones that are winning in the market are the ones that are leveraging their um, personality and who they
yes,
are as a
sure,
human to connect with other people that want to either be like them or value their perspective, because I think that in an age where content is just overloaded, having trusted curators, essentially,
yeah,
I guess if you were to really boil it down, like
yep,
people trust your
authentic
curation
brand, yeah,
of strength training.
yes,
Like there's a million different ways out there that you can
yes,
look up, and everybody says they're the right one, but they trust you to get them the results they want.
correct.
And so being seen in your market as a person that is trusted to curate whatever service it is that you're delivering, because turnkey coaches, we're starting with strength, but this type of interaction would work with any video exchange. We have people that are dog trainers asking about this. We have a singing coach that's signed up with us. We actually have a we have a sex therapy coach who recently registered.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see where
Why
that
not?
goes,
Why
but
not? Shit's getting weird here at Turnkey
it's
Coach.
getting weird. But like I said, any type of situation where I think the market is going to, as AI continues to evolve and content continues to just mass produce, essentially trusted relationships between humans that can get on a shared mission and work towards shared goals is going to be where you can win.
Uh, Andrew, this was awesome, super insightful. I feel like we could do like three more episodes, talk
Yeah.
about employee development, lots of stuff. Tell the people where the best place to get in, contact with you guys, Turnkey Coach, and get some more information from you guys.
Best place to go is www.turnkey.coach/BOC for the business of coaching. I do a weekly workshop. Or if you want to jump straight into a call with me or Mac, my assistant, go to www.turnkey.coach/disco for discovery call. And we'll get on a
Awesome.
call with you and try to see what your business, try to understand what your business is, what you're trying to do, what your goals are, and whether Turnkey Coach is a fit. We're, like I said, we're a coaching company that loves working with coaches and helping them, but we're also not, I'm not a sales guy by nature. I'm an engineer. So we get on these calls and it's not like a high pressure kind of thing where we're just trying to convince you we're the best. There are other solutions out there that depending on your business model, might work better. But we believe in what we do, and if things I said today seem like a good fit, then jump on and let's get a call booked.
Andrew, you guys are the best. You're great, doing great service for the industry. And again, Turnkey Coach Andrew Jackson, thanks so much for being a marquee sponsor for both the Business of Strength Retreat and the Underground Strength Con. We can't wait to see you in a couple weeks, and we'll see you in Arizona in 2 weeks, man. Thanks so much for
See you
coming on, and
there.
we'll make sure we put all that stuff for all the listeners. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes, so make sure you check out the link on the landing page. We'll have all Andrew and Turnkey Coach information on there, so you guys can communicate with them and check it out for yourselves. Turnkey Coach, this is the Business of Strength. I'll talk to you next time.